A baby's head is decapitated during the course of a delivery. Would you like to learn what happened? Come join me as I share with you this horrific story coming out of Missouri. Hi, I'm Jerry Oginski. I'm a New York medical malpractice and personal injury trial attorney practicing law here in the state of New York. This story is reported by the New York Daily News, and it's a horrific story. A woman was told during the course of her pregnancy, do not have a vaginal delivery because your baby is simply too big. Well, that doctor wasn't on call at the time she went into labor, and another doctor was caring for her who told her, not a problem, you can have a vaginal delivery. Well, what do you think happens? During the course of the delivery, the baby's head was delivered, but the shoulders and the body got stuck. And as a result, according to the parents' claims, what happened was the doctor was applying excessive traction to the baby's head. And according to them, the doctor severed the baby's head from the spinal cord. And to make matters worse, tried to cover the whole thing up by pushing the baby's head back up into the birth canal and then rushing the mom back to the C-section room to do an emergency crash C-section. Now, the baby was born dead. Now, as tragic as that is, the question becomes, how is it possible that the baby's head could become severed from the body? One of the only ways that that can happen is by applying excessive traction and causing a fracture, causing a break between the head and the spinal cord. If the shoulders get stuck, there are certain things that can be done by the physician. And by the way, that's known as shoulder dystocia. That's the medical term that the doctors use. And there are 5 different maneuvers that doctors are taught to use in the event of a shoulder dystocia, where the shoulders are too big for the birth canal or the baby's body is too big. And one of the first things that they're taught to do is something called McRoberts maneuver. And that's where they push the mother's legs and feet all the way up so that the knees are basically touching her chest. And the reason for that is to allow for a greater curvature so the baby can pass through the birth canal. If that doesn't work, another method for trying to relieve the stuck shoulder is by placing one of their hands into the vagina in an attempt to rotate the baby's shoulders, not the head, but the baby's shoulders, in an attempt to get it unstuck. Sometimes that will work, sometimes it won't. Another possibility is to apply gentle traction to the baby's head and gently rotate. Another thing that can be done is to intentionally fracture the baby's clavicle. And the reason for that is once the fracture is done, once the clavicle is fractured, now there's more room to allow the baby to pass through the mom's birth canal. Another method that is taught to these doctors is, and this is very extreme and it's very rare, is to actually fracture the mother's pelvis in an attempt to make more room to allow the baby to pass through. So why do I share this information with you? Chances are you're watching this and you may be concerned about your own delivery, or your child may have an injury to their arm that's known as Erb's palsy or Klumpke's palsy. That can happen during the course of a delivery when there's an injury to the nerve that controls the brachial plexus and controls the arm. And if that occurred to you and your child has this problem, you may be wondering, how did this happen? Well, if you have legal questions, what I encourage you to do is pick up the phone and call me. I can answer your legal questions. You can reach me at 516-487-8207 or by email at lawmed10@yahoo.com. I'm Jerry Oginski here in New York. Thanks for watching.